From NBC News, this is a special edition of Today.
Love and marriage, love and marriage.
This morning on Today's Relationships, the pitfalls of marriage. Every couple experiences the highs and lows, but as the years tick by, avoiding the bumps can become more and more difficult. Linda Fears is the editor-in-chief of Family Circle magazine, which addresses this topic in this month's issue. Jeff Gardier is a psychologist. Combined, we should mention, they have 40 years of marriage under their belt. Very impressive, Jeff and Linda, although that might not be fun to hear, right? All right, we have 4 pitfalls to get through. Linda, let's start with the first one, which is extreme storytelling. Right. What does that mean?
That means when you're out with your friends or family members and you just tell every single detail of the last fight you had, or you sort of supersize the situation. So say the spouse that leaves the sweaty gym clothes on the floor turns into the biggest slob ever. So you want to try to avoid letting everyone know that your marriage is a disaster.
And yet, Jeff, I think we all need someone to tell some of these stories to get it off our chests.
Well, absolutely. It's cathartic and it allows us to work through some of the issues. But I'd rather see us use that energy instead of gossiping about our mate or letting out some intimate secrets, as I've done once or twice here, actually working it through, because there you're taking responsibility instead of just saying it's all them, them.
Yeah, and Linda, in terms of like the female relationship, what's the best way to talk to your mother, your sister, or your best friend about your relationship?
And you know how easy it is to sort of go down that slippery slope. But the best thing to do is just not bring any issues up in the first place. If somebody does to you, if a friend wants to start dishing, then be sympathetic and vent a little if it makes you feel better, but why not bring some of the best parts of your relationship into the conversation?
And you know you've gone over the line when they start saying, "You gotta leave him, girl! Just go!"
Well, which might even bring us into the next pitfall, Jeff, which is the poor me syndrome. Women tend to get silent when they're upset with their partner and perhaps even talk to their friends about woe is me.
Yeah.
Obviously not a good move.
Well, I think there are a couple of things going on. I think, for one, the woman may not feel empowered enough to really change the relationship, so they get silent. And I think the other one, and I tend to see this in my relationship, well, I'm not going to tell you what's going on, because if you're a good husband, you guess and you would know. So sometimes we pass the test and sometimes we don't. Just say what's going on.
And sometimes we have to change to see the marriage change, right, Linda?
Right, and it's more of a mental change in some ways, because if everything you've been doing is not working thus far, then maybe you need to say, you know, how important is it to me to win this fight? How important is it to me to be right? Do I want to be right, or do I want to be happy?
And if you want something to change, perhaps quid pro quo. You change something, I'll change something, and we'll meet somewhere in the middle.
All right, we're going to move on to pitfall number 3, which is fighting over stuff. Jeff, why is it important to live with your spouse's quirks?
Well, because the quirks are part of their personalities, and if you change all of the quirks, you're trying to change the personality, and you will get pushback. But isn't it interesting how the quirks were so cute when you were dating or in the first year of marriage,
and
like the laugh, and now it's like, oh, I can't stand it. And that, I think, tells your partner that maybe you're growing tired of the marriage, so you should look at ways to address those in a much more positive manner.
When should you know, Linda, or when should you, how should you decide to push on a few of maybe the irritating habits?
Well, if it's not health-threatening, then you might just want to say, I'm going to let this one go. I mean, it really depends. We were talking a little bit before in the green room. My husband's a slob. His wife, not so neat either. Drove no, you told me neat ones, right?
I thought we were going to keep this stuff between us.
He wasn't really talking about his wife, right?
But, you know, at the end of the day, people really don't change. They don't. Believe me, I tried. Years and years and years. It just, and you just have to say, okay, what's more important to me? Is this marriage more important to me, or the fact that
don't sweat the small stuff.
That's right.
Let's talk about the 4th pitfall, and this is a big one. It's distance, and this is a major problem when people talk about why couples get divorced. Correct, Jeff?
Absolutely. I think what happens is we form that distance, or we create that distance, because we don't have enough rituals. Certain things that keep us together, that we do on a daily or weekly basis, that keep us connected.
Linda, is distance always a bad thing for a relationship, though? There's always that adage, absence makes the heart grow fonder.
Well, you know, it depends what you're talking about here.
But too much absence makes the man wander.
There you go.
That's
the important second part of that.
But Jeff's right. I mean, you do have to, and it sounds corny to plan that date night, to spend a little time together. And look, we're all busy between kids and jobs and other commitments. There's just not that much time every day, so you do have to plan to have that time together. Or you do grow apart, or you forget, why did I marry this person in the first place?
Linda Fears, Jeff Gardier, thanks so much. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, Amy.
All right, up next, fashion inspired by Hollywood's hottest flicks.